Good afternoon and welcome to Columbia Housing's public hearing on our annual plan for fiscal year 2024, which begins July 1, 2023 through June 30, 2024. My name is Yvonda Bean, and I am the CEO for Columbia Housing. Today, we are going to talk to you about our annual plan, which includes information on our programs, operations, and the strategies that we apply to meet the local need. We're super excited to present this information to you all on today, and I'm going to be joined by Ms. Talisha Stewart, who is our SVP of Resident Strategic Initiatives, and also Cindy Herrera, who is our Chief Development Officer. I'd like to begin by sharing with you the organization's mission. Because Columbia Housing cares, we are leveraging the power of housing to build a foundation for individuals and families to thrive. Our vision statement is we envision communities of opportunity where individuals and families can not only live and work, but also thrive to their fullest potential. So we'll begin first with our activities timeline for the annual plan. And to do that, I'd like to welcome Ms. Talisha Stewart to the podium.
Good afternoon. I am Talisha Stewart, Senior Vice President of Resident and Strategic Initiatives for Columbia Housing. I'll be leading the discussion on our activities timeline for our annual plan, as well as the strategic goals and our progress in completing all the goals we've established for our fiscal year. Now I'm going to talk to you about the activities timeline for our annual plan. HUD requires that we have a 45-day public comment period, which was held February 18th through April the 4th. We held resident advisory board meetings in 3 of our housing sites, in which 54 of our housing residents attended those meetings. They provided valuable input on our annual plan and also some of the activities that we're proposing over the upcoming fiscal year. Today, we are unveiling our plan to our public during our public hearing. This will be followed by our board meeting, which will be held on April the 13th, in which our board members will vote on the approval of the plan. The annual plan is due to HUD by April the 16th, which is 75 days before the beginning of our fiscal year, which is July the 1st, 2023. Next, I will speak on the 10 strategic goals that Columbia Housing has established in our 5-year strategic plan. The first goal is centered around resident strategies. Next, we have goals on Housing Choice Voucher Program, followed by a public housing program and capital assets. The fourth goal is our homeless programs, followed by home ownership. We have goals for human resources and personnel development, community safety and security, IT services, Violence Against Women's Act, which is also known as VAWA, and our final goal is centered around communications and community engagement. Our first strategic goal, resident strategies, is we will strengthen relationships with the people we serve by increasing mutual accountability and by improving our ability to connect with them to vital services in the community that will foster economic self-sufficiency and quality of life opportunities. The objectives for this goal are: we will continue to support an independent resident executive council. We will also promote economic and self-sufficiency opportunities for residents served by Columbia Housing.
Strategic goal number 1, resident strategies, I'm super excited to provide an update on. We are, in fact, fostering economic self-sufficiency and quality of life opportunities by expanding and creating new partnerships. We have fantastic partnerships with organizations such as Midlands Technical College, the South Carolina Department of Health and Environmental Control, DHEC. We also have several partnerships with different managed care organizations, Prisma Health, Senior Resources, and so many more. It's those partnerships that help us to provide the supports and the wraparound services that many of our residents and families need. We're also creating opportunities centered around programming for our youth, adults, and seniors. This past year, we were successful in securing 2 public housing residents with scholarships for college. We also had we had a summer youth employment program that included 26 youth, which was extremely beneficial to the youth and also their parents. We received a $45,000 grant from Gen Z through DHEC and Fact Forward. We also provided on a monthly basis, it's ongoing, but we provide on a monthly basis at least 30 in-home healthcare services to our residents. Over 100 families on average receive nutritious meals weekly. We also have educational and management supports that we provide through many of our partnerships on things such as Medicaid and Medicare. We were also awarded $109,352 for the Family Self-Sufficiency Program, which allows us to assist 85 participants in both the public housing and the Housing Choice Voucher programs. And we've had in this past year two families to actually graduate from the Family Self-Sufficiency Program.
For our second strategic goal, it's centered around our Housing Choice Voucher program. The goal is that we will maximize leasing capacity based upon annual budget authority, and we will maintain program compliance in accordance with HUD regulations. The objectives for this goal are: we will have continuous operational improvement through increased technology, including paperless processes that lead to more effective and efficient operations and that best support the families served. We will also implement an all streamlined operational procedures under HOPMA, which is the Housing Opportunities Through Modernization Act. Finally, we will expand landlord participation through creative incentives that attract and retain landlords.
I'm excited to provide an update on strategic goal number 2 in reference to our Housing Choice Voucher program. So last year, we reached a 95% utilization rate of our annual budget authority. What that essentially means is that the resources that have been allocated to us under the Housing Choice Voucher program, we successfully got in the hands of the families that need those vouchers. We are also proposing some policy changes that will include local preferences. This will allow us to continue to be efficient in our administration of the Housing Choice Voucher program. We are looking at adding public housing families residing in RAD conversion properties, preferences for public housing uninhabitable units where repairs cannot be completed in a reasonable time period, and also families in our MOD rehab project converting to RAD or opting out of the MOD rehab program. Another policy change will include revising our administrative plan. The administrative plan is the document that essentially governs the Housing Choice Voucher program. We're looking to add a chapter on the Rental Assistance Demonstration Program, which is one of HUD's tools we've tapped into to be able to address the outstanding maintenance needs that exist at many of our properties. Additional policy changes include income reviews will be performed only if the annual adjusted income increases or decreases more than 10%. Streamlined verification consent form will only be required to sign by each adult household member. Also, EIV, which is HUD's income verification system, isn't required at interims, and we are going to allow for other federal programs' income data to verify income information. We're also changing the policy to include an increase in standard deductions from $400, which is what it is currently, to $525 for families with the head, co-head, or spouse who's elderly or has a disability. We'll also include allowances for unreimbursed health and medical care disability expenses, increased to 10%, phased in over 2 years. Right now, it's 3%. We're also looking to extend a deduction for unreimbursable childcare expenses that causes economic hardships for 90 days with extensions as needed. Lastly, we will allow self-certification of net assets if estimated to be at or below $50,000. And for eligibility and continued assistance, Total assets cannot exceed $100,000, and individuals cannot own real estate suitable for occupancy. We're also looking to streamline recertifications every 3 years for households with 90% fixed income.
Strategic goal number 3, public housing program and capital assets. We will implement Vision 2030 repositioning strategy through recapitalization and conversion utilizing all available HUD tools. The objectives are we will continue active engagement of public housing residents in repositioning and relocation strategies and implement a RAD guide for residents' rights. We will continue public-private partnerships, accessing private capital to reposition the real estate portfolio. We plan to exit the public housing program by year 2030. And finally, we will expand the use of bond authority through implementation of essential function bonds and 501c3 bonds to finance additional affordable housing throughout Columbia and Richland County areas.
Proposed policy changes under Strategic Goal 3, the Public Housing Program and Capital Assets, includes implementation of new income limits effective June 24, 2023. We're looking to convert all over-income families to non-public housing. There will also be an implementation of new non-public housing leases at fair market rents. We will provide families with 2 advance notices beginning at 24 months and again at 12 months. We'll also process interim income reviews only if the annual adjusted income increases or decreases more than 10%. And then streamlined verification consent form will be signed once for each adult household member. The additional proposed policy changes that you see on the screen for the Public Housing Program and Capital Assets Update includes the same proposed policy changes for the Housing Choice Voucher Program that I shared with you previously. Before I turn it over to Cindy Herrera, who is our Chief Development Officer, to talk to you a little bit about Vision 2030, I want to share that, as you all are aware, we launched a pretty progressive repositioning strategy a few years ago that would allow us to address the deferred maintenance that exists in all of our properties. We conducted several needs assessments, and through those needs assessments, we found that we had $250 million in deferred maintenance needs. $250 million that the agency, of course, does not have readily available to make those repairs. So one of the things that we did was we devised a strategy that would allow us to partner with private developers, leveraging our assets to attract the private capital necessary to be able to address those needs. And so today I'm excited to turn it over to Cindy Herrera to provide you all with an update.
Thank you, Ms. Bean. Good afternoon. My name is Cindy Herrera, and I'm the Chief Development Officer for Columbia Housing. Our Vision 2030 plan is the strategic framework through which we have developed a repositioning strategy for all of our public housing properties. Currently, public housing is statutorily prohibited from accessing private capital, but HUD has provided us with a variety of tools, including the Rental Assistance Demonstration Program, which allows us to convert the public housing program to the Section 8 platform, thus enabling us to access private capital. We have a variety of tools that HUD has provided. This is what I refer to as our toolbox, and RAD being the primary tool we will be utilizing. But in addition to that, our repositioning strategies include Section 18, disposition and demolition, mixed finance development, and voluntary conversion. We're very excited to say that we launched the construction at the Oaks at St. Anna's Park. This is the redevelopment of the former Gonzalez Gardens. It is currently under construction. We closed the project in May of 2022. The full occupancy is expected by June of 24. This is a $72 million redevelopment project at the former Gonzalez site. Oak Terrace is the senior building on the site that will consist of 95 one-bedroom units serving individuals 62 and older. In addition to that, we have 190 family townhomes, which will consist of both subsidized and market rate units. We're excited to be able to bring this new community forward and be able to provide new housing opportunities in the very near future. In addition, we were able to close the Haven at Palmer Point this past year. Haven at Palmer Point, another very exciting project that replaces the former Marion Street high-rise, which was redeveloped or disposed of under the Section 18 provisions of HUD. You can see here in the slide, we have some pictures of the construction beginning of the site work. The building should be coming vertical over the next few weeks. This is a 150-unit senior project with a total development cost of almost $37 million. We were successful in closing this project in October of 2022, and it has a full occupancy date anticipated for September of 24. During 2023, during this current year in which we are sharing with you the agency plan, we have 5 rehabilitation projects that we hope to close the financing on so that we can begin renovation. The first of those is Capitol Heights in Bayberry Mews. This is a 200-unit project in which we will transfer some of our public housing subsidy to this property under the RAD Transfer of Assistance Program. We have 20 units that will come from Latimer Manor and 28 units that will come from Dora Randall. These are both traditional public housing communities. Capitol Heights and Bayberry will undergo significant renovation of about $100,000 per door. We hope to close this project, the financing on the project, in September of this year and begin construction immediately thereafter. Lewis Scott Court is located in Eastover. It's one of our communities out in Richland County, consisting of 67 traditional public housing units. We will also be doing substantial rehabilitation and adding a small office and maintenance facility on the site. We hope to close this project also in September of this year. We will be doing rehab of about $40,000 to $50,000 per door out at the Lewis Scott Court community. Hammond Village is another traditional public housing community with 78 units. This will be a RAD and a Section 18 blend in which we will also do substantial rehabilitation. And again, we hope to close this one in September of this year. All 3 of these projects have received conceptual approval from the Federal Housing Administration for financing, and we're currently moving forward with the final financing applications. The next 2 projects that we will close yet this calendar year are Rosewood and Celia Saxon. These are 2 of our newer communities. They're less than 20 years old, but they just need a basic uplift, facelift at this point in time. So we'll be doing some renovations of about $25,000 to $40,000 per door to upgrade some of the current finishes in the property as well as some of the building systems. So these also are expected to close this year. We hope to close both of them in December of this year and begin the construction thereafter. Our single-family home portfolio, Columbia Housing actually owns 273 single-family homes that are scattered throughout Richland County. We've assessed all of these properties. It's been a long process because 273 single-family homes is a lot of individual houses. But what we've learned from the assessments is that we have a combination of conditions at the various properties. We anticipate at this point that we will be disposing through transfer to our affiliate 202 of the houses. Those 202 houses will undergo substantial rehabilitation. It'll vary depending on the needs of the house. Then we've also identified that 71 of the houses have some serious structural problems in which we will move forward to demolish those. We're very excited because we're going to convert these homes to a lease purchase program using the HUD Section 32 program and the Housing Choice Voucher Home Ownership Program. There will be project-based vouchers that would allow the residents to then be able to purchase the homes. This is our scattered site portfolio. This is 18 separate properties, again, scattered throughout the city of Columbia. It's a total of 305 units, and as you can see from the chart, they range in size from a small of 2 and 4 units up to 25 units. We will be financing all of these properties under a single financial transaction utilizing 501c3 bonds, and we'll be able to begin construction. The amount of renovation will vary depending on the needs of each property. Allen Benedict Court, we are very excited to be able to present to you preliminary plans to move forward with the redevelopment of the Allen Benedict Court community. As you can see in the photos, we have completed the demolition of the site. We were able to complete that this past year, and we've worked with our development partner to be able to redesign the site. We conducted some design charrettes in which both the neighborhood, community stakeholders, as well as former residents of the community participated. We had very active engagement, and we're very excited about the process. We anticipate that this will be a mixed finance community. It will consist of a senior building along Hardin Street. It'll have family townhome units in the center court section of the site. And then along Laurel Street, we will have a workforce housing development. We're moving forward with finalizing some of the design plans, and we'll be coming back to the community in the next few months to share some additional designs based on the feedback and the comments that we receive from all of you. We're hoping to be able to submit financing applications. This project will be financed through South Carolina Housing using tax-exempt bonds and 4% low-income housing tax credits. South Carolina Housing has actually had a hold on their application process right now, but we hope and anticipate that they will open the application process before the end of calendar year 23, and we will be the first ones in the door to get our application in to move forward with financing the redevelopment of the former Allen Benedict Court community. In addition to that, we have 4 new construction projects, which will consist of RAD units that will also transfer assistance. Willowbrook at Wateree and Willow Creek at Wateree are a senior and a family community, both located by the Columbia Mall, close to the new Wateree headquarters. Oak Grove at Hunt Club is also located in the same area. All of these will be new construction developments, of which there will be a portion of the units will be project-based vouchers that will be RAD, transfer of assistance. And again, these projects actually had applications submitted to South Carolina Housing and are on hold for financing at the moment, pending South Carolina Housing's opening of applications for this year. Gardens at Greenview is another one of our RAD transfer of assistance projects, and this will consist of the demolition of a community now known as English Meadows on Farrow Road, and we will be moving RAD transfer of assistance units to this project as well. This is just a summary of Latimer Manor. Latimer Manor is our last large family community, and we are going to redevelop it in a phased approach utilizing 5 different phases. 4 phases will be the transfer of assistance that I've previously mentioned, and then on site, we will be redeveloping the current Latimer site into a mixed income community that will include both senior housing, family housing, and home ownership opportunities. 86 units will be RAD transfer of assistance units that will be built back on the Latimer Manor site. Our next community, Dora Randall, I've also mentioned, will also be done as a 2-phase project in which we'll be transferring assistance on a portion of the units to the Capitol Heights community, and then we will redevelop the Dora Randall community with a total of 72 units, of which 24 of those will remain as the RAD units on the site. And then finally, we have 4 communities that are still in the planning stage. These 4 communities have the RAD plans pending, so the application has not yet been submitted. This is our Arrington Manor senior community, the Oak Reed High Rise, the Villages at River's Edge, and the Reserves at Fairway. These 4 communities, we will continue our planning process through the next year and be able to submit a final plan to HUD by early 2024 as to how we will move forward with repositioning all 4 of these projects. And the other very important development tool that we use that assists us in being able to make all of these projects feasible is the use of project-based vouchers. So what we've got here are 4 communities in which we will be doing RAD transfer of assistance, but in addition to that, we will be utilizing non-RAD project-based vouchers at these communities. We utilize our project-based vouchers in cooperation with our development partners that were selected under a solicitation, and we utilize them on sites that are not public housing sites and for new construction projects only.
Our next strategic goal, number 4, is homeless programs. We will expand our collaborative partnerships with county and citywide efforts to reduce the families at risk of experiencing homelessness or at risk of losing housing. The objectives are: we will reduce homelessness by providing supportive housing for individuals and families who are chronically homeless and disabled. We will apply for funding to support continuum of care and housing opportunities for people with AIDS, also known as HOPPA programs. We will submit applications on an annual basis to support the continuum of care and HOPPA programs, and we will manage operations and all budget expenditures to maximize program implementation.
It is my pleasure to provide you all with an update on our homeless programs, strategic goal number 4. So last year we received, Columbia Housing received 84 emergency housing vouchers. Those vouchers, I am excited to report, have been fully leased. Which means that the team did a great job of ensuring that those vouchers were in the hands of those individuals that needed them. We were one of 7 organizations to receive the additional vouchers, and we were, in fact, the first to be fully leased. So again, that is something that we're super excited to report and proud of. We were also awarded $734,322 from HUD to provide housing for 58 chronically homeless disabled households. We were also recipients of the City of Columbia's CDBG funds in the amount of $154,902, which provides housing for 15 households with a member who has been diagnosed with HIV or AIDS related illness and are homeless.
Strategic goal number 5 is homeownership. We will create opportunities for residents and program participants through the coordination of homebuyer education resources and activities that increase home ownership opportunities. The objectives are: we will increase access to home ownership opportunities by providing education, counseling, and resources for current Columbia Housing Program participants and the community at large. We will develop and implement a lease purchase program for Columbia Housing-owned single-family homes. And finally, we will affirmatively further fair housing by ensuring that all operations within Columbia Housing adhere to fair housing regulations.
It is my pleasure to provide you all with an update on our homeownership program, strategic goal number 5. As most of you, I'm sure, are aware, Columbia Housing has a tremendous homeownership program where we're helping our residents and families become first-time homeowners, and that program continues to thrive. And this past year, we submitted an application to HUD to become a HUD-approved housing counseling agency. That certification is going to allow us to continue to deliver things such as homebuyer education, housing counseling services to our residents and the families we serve, but also the general public. We're super excited and anxiously awaiting that approval. We are also looking at some policy changes for the homeownership program. As mentioned previously, we have several single-family homes that we own in the public housing program, and we'll actually be looking to convert those homes to the lease purchase program, which will allow individuals and families interested in homeownership but may have barriers to becoming homeowners. It'll give them an opportunity to work on those barriers so that they can, in fact, become mortgage worthy and purchase their first home. We're also looking at, for a policy change, only current household members listed in the participant's voucher may be listed as borrower or co-borrower for that program, and live-in aides are not eligible as a borrower for the Housing Choice Voucher Homeownership Program. It's also important to note that, and this is a policy change, the live-in aide isn't eligible to assume the voucher assistance upon the death of the head of the household.
Our next strategic goal, number 6, is human resources and personnel development. We will embrace the agency's new identity by transforming its organizational structure and culture through the establishment of a track record for integrity, accountability, collaboration, and exceptional customer service. The objectives are we will improve human resources functions by creating an electronic-based personnel management system, and we will implement strategies to improve personnel capacity and ensure that supervising employees are properly trained on their job responsibilities.
For strategic goal number 6, in reference to human resources and personnel development, we've made some tremendous strides in this past year, upgrading many of our systems to an electronic based system that makes for more efficient operations. And so we're super excited to report that we're able to electronically handle everything essentially from the beginning of the hiring process, including hiring, promotions, demotions, reassignments, suspensions. All of those things have been converted to an electronic system, again, that allows us to be able to operate more efficiently. So we're super excited about that. We also rolled out a couple of policies in this past year. One includes the alternative work schedule and a sick leave pool policy. The alternative work schedule we're super excited about. We do have, in fact, some of the team members working 4-day work weeks. What we did essentially is rather than having everyone work a 4-day work week, the office is still open, but what we've done is we've expanded our hours. Several individuals work Monday through Thursday until 6:30 p.m. and then on Friday until 5. But someone is at the office at all times. And again, the additional time makes us more accessible to the individuals and families that we served.
Strategic goal number 7, community safety and security. We will develop a comprehensive strategy through engagement of Columbia Housing's communities and law enforcement agencies that can improve public safety and the quality of life within our communities. The objectives are we will increase capacity of the security staff by developing internal resources to support strategies that will address criminal activity in our communities while providing resources and support and partnering with Columbia Police Department and Richland County Sheriff's Department in crime-fighting efforts. We will also implement community crime prevention programs that will reduce criminal activities and engage residents as core planners and facilitators of crime-fighting strategies.
As it relates to strategic goal number 7 and the community safety and security program, we developed what's called a resident safety plan. And that plan essentially was created to establish residents as first responders, reducing their vulnerability through awareness tools, providing education, and creating opportunities to engage with local law enforcement. Several initiatives are under the umbrella of the Resident Safety Plan, including the Columbia Police Department's Reach One, Teach One program. We have a resident engagement program, National Night Out, Teen Summit, Violence Against Women education program, Fire Safety and Prevention program, Residents Task Force meetings, Community Watch Night, and then we, of course, participate in the Greater Neighborhood Association meetings.
Strategic goal number 8, IT services. We will innovate the way Columbia Housing maintains smooth functioning of its infrastructure and operational environments that support application deployment to its internal and external customers. The objective for this goal is we will increase connectivity and narrow the digital divide throughout our communities by partnering to install the broadband infrastructure.
IT services have certainly improved in the last year, which is strategic goal number 8. We actually implemented a multi-factor authentication system, and we're monitoring hardware and software updates on a daily basis. We continue to make significant strides in ensuring the internal and external safety and security of the individuals that we serve, and also, of course, our employees. I'm also excited to report that we partnered with Richland Library and the McNulty Foundation to offer free wireless access boxes for our residents that needed access to the internet. We're also a part of HUD's national initiative, which is the Connect Home program. And that program allows us to convene with other community leaders, local governments, nonprofit organizations within the industry to really join together and strategize on ways to decrease the digital divide that exists for a lot of our families.
Our ninth strategic goal is Violence Against Women's Act, or VAWA. We will enforce and protect the rights of victims of domestic violence, dating violence, and stalking to secure and maintain housing without being victimized a second time by being denied housing or losing housing because of criminally violent act perpetrated against them. The objective for this goal is we will provide ongoing communication with public housing residents and housing choice voucher participants to disseminate VAWA information and maintain awareness of protections under VAWA.
So an update on strategic goal number 9 for the Violence Against Women's Act. We will continue to ensure that our residents who are victims of domestic violence, rape, stalking, dating violence, receive the proper services that will allow them to stay safe and remain housed through transfers to other communities when necessary. We've also partnered with local advocacy groups that provide information to our residents on safety measures, and some of those I discussed during the safety and security update.
Our 10th and final strategic goal is communications and community engagement. We will build support for housing as a key component of vibrant, sustainable communities through the communication of public information, engagement, and advocacy that promotes affordable housing and supports the advancement of low-wealth individuals and families. The objectives are: we will use social media and website platforms to bring awareness and transparent communications of Columbia Housing's community activities, business opportunities, and administrative changes. We will also enhance website features through expansion of business portals for applicants, residents, staff, landlords, and our Board of Commissioners.
Our communications and community engagement effort under strategic goal number 10 continues to be robust. We use our social media platforms to tell our story. If you aren't a subscriber to our website where you can receive those updates on things that we may be doing at the agency, including opening the waiting list or holding an event at one of our properties, we definitely encourage you to subscribe. You can include either your email address or your cell number to make certain that you stay connected to Columbia Housing's events. We also, in this past year, launched what is called This is Columbia Housing. It's a campaign, and from that campaign, we created a digital newsletter, and that newsletter really helps us to be able to tell our story. It highlights resident success stories, employee spotlights, programs offered to our residents, and community resources, and just community engagement and volunteer opportunities even for our residents. So we will continue our outreach efforts. We will continue to ensure that we are making the general public and our residents and families aware of all of the offerings and services available to them, and really how the community can be a part of Columbia Housing on the Move. So again, if you aren't a subscriber, we encourage you to subscribe today. On the slide, you'll see lots of other community engagement efforts that we've deployed in the space of our communications department. That concludes our presentation on the annual plan for fiscal year 2024. I know that we have presented you all with a lot of information. If you have any questions, we would absolutely entertain those questions at this time. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. I'm Cynthia Hardy, and I'm delighted to have the opportunity right now to lead our Q&A session. With us here to answer your questions live from our boardroom here at Columbia Housing, of course, seated next to me, our Senior Vice President of Resident and Family Services, along with Strategic Initiatives, Talisha Stewart. On the far side, in the green, Cindy Herrera is our Chief Development Officer, and of course, our CEO, Yvonne DeBeam. Ms. Beam, thank you for the opportunity to do the Q&A today, and I'm wondering if you'd like to have any opening comments.
Absolutely. Thank you, Cynthia. So again, I am Yvonne DeBeam, the CEO for Columbia Housing, and I am super excited to be viewing you all today, those who are joining us in the boardroom and also via Zoom. We thank you all so much for taking time out of your busy schedules to hear the updates that the agency has accomplished over this past year. The annual plan is presented to our residents and to our program participants and the general public each year. It's our way of being transparent and responsible with the resources that are extended to this agency through our largest programs, such as the Housing Choice Voucher Program and also the Public Housing Program. But again, it's an opportunity for you to see how we're progressing and also hold us accountable. The strategic goals are the things that we established a couple of years ago, and so we have a responsibility to make sure that we're sharing with you all each year what we're doing, what those efforts include to help realize all of those strategic goals. So again, thank you all so much for joining us. I'm going to now turn it back over to Cynthia Hardy to lead the questions and answer.
Thank you, Ms. Bean. I also want to remind our studio audience, and thank you guys for being here with us today, and also those of you all who are watching and joining us on Facebook, on the Facebook Live feature, and also those who are joining us via Zoom. Some of the questions that we have are going to come from Zoom, and I want to remind everyone that our Chief of Staff, Lee McRoberts, is standing by to take those questions, and if you put them in the chat, if you will do that, then those questions will be relayed to this panel, and we will answer each and every question. Along the lines of resident strategies, Ms. Bean, one of the first questions for me or to me was, are you going to have the summer program again, Ms. Bean?
So last year, for those of you who aren't aware, and it was mentioned in the presentation, we kicked off what we called a summer youth employment program. We are currently behind the scenes strategizing on what our program is going to be called this year. We want it to be something a little more catchy, but that particular program afforded, I think we had 26 youth, Ms. Talisha, to participate in our summer youth employment program. They were youth from our public housing program and also our Housing Choice Voucher Program, but they were given a weekly stipend, which they were super excited about. And of course, I'm sure they are anxiously awaiting the opportunity to participate again. And the parents are anxiously awaiting the opportunity too. One of the things that we did with the youth when they received their first check was just make sure that they take care of those who have taken care of them. So we required them to do something special for their parents. But we will, in fact, have that program again this year. We're looking at 4 weeks, and again, we're in the planning stages, so stay tuned.
I'm sorry, y'all. Go ahead, Ms. Bean, I'm sorry.
No, that was it. That was all.
So, Ms. Talisha Stewart, if you would let us know some of the features of that program. I know they worked, but there were also a number of empowerment workshops that you were able to provide.
Yes. So some of the things that we wanted to do was make sure that our youth was ready to go into the workforce. So the first week of employment here, we sent them through a rigorous workforce development program where we talked about communication in the workplace. We talked about dressing for success, ethics in the workplace, coming to work on time, just those various things that
Credit, money.
Yes.
How to
That was
do
a
it.
part of it, yes. We had someone from the financial institution to come in to do a financial literacy workshop with them. So just those basic core things that they would need to be successful in the workplace are the things that we actually did. Also, as additional components of it, we actually took them on a field trip to Midlands Tech because we wanted to expose them to some of the opportunities that's available for them beyond graduation, but also some of the local school districts have where they can do dual enrollment and they can take classes. So we took them to Tech and they spent a day there learning about some of their various programs. As we mentioned, we did financial literacy, and we did a bunch of other core workshops working with our youth. So during the course of this year as well, we will continue to bring back some of those opportunities because we just don't want to be just a job work experience, but also a life experience that they have as well.
If I
Anything you
may-
want to add, Ms. Bean?
Yes, thank you. Could you see it on my face?
Yes,
I wanted to add something.
absolutely good.
I did want to add that at the conclusion of the program, the youth actually did a project where they had to present that project to all of their parents. But part of the project required them to do a presentation in whatever form they could sing, they could dance, they could write a poem, they could rap, they could whatever they chose to do through their own creative abilities, present to the team, the entire team, their families as well, and on what they wanted to do after they graduated. And we were so excited to receive that several of the youth expressed a newfound interest in the affordable housing industry.
They did.
We need more people who are passionate about the work of providing quality housing for, your most vulnerable populations, low-income individuals. And so it was really refreshing to hear that the team really made an impact on the youth as it relates to what they want to do when they grow up.
Yeah, and seriously, I felt growth among a number of the students this summer, and we're looking forward at the agency to doing that. Before we go on and talk a little bit more, talk about development, I do want to ask a couple more questions in the resident and family services area. A number of people are surprised at the number of wraparound services that we provide, because it's often thought that all of the funds come from HUD, when in fact, many people think we are HUD. But to know that we have so many programs, especially those that impact our young people, is something that surprises a number of people. So if we could talk about that a little bit. It was, of course, our first strategic goal, and of course, for me being here just a short time that I've been here, we don't just hit it, we knock it out of the park with what we're doing in terms of wraparound services, whether it's the program that you mentioned about Midlands Technical College and what they're doing, or either senior resources when they deliver the Meals on Wheels, to Prisma Health that actually provides direct services to a number of our seniors. A number of people just don't know about the wraparound services that we provide.
Sure. So you want me to take that? I'll just kick it off, but I'm going to turn to Ms. Talisha Stewart, who is our resident expert. But I do want to just point out that one of the things that we recognize is that we can't do nearly the work that we do, as much as we do, to reach the lives of the families we serve by ourselves. It truly takes a village, and so we have been very successful and very fortunate to establish the community relationships that we've established. We've established relationships with individuals and organizations that Cynthia just mentioned that are equally passionate and care about the people that we serve. We are a housing provider first, but certainly we recognize the importance of being able to holistically address the needs of our families. And that means having to partner with those organizations that can deliver some of those supports and wraparound services that are needed. And so I am going to turn it over to Ms. Talisha to talk about some of those partnerships. But again, just know that we're passionate about the individuals we serve, and it means making those relationships and those connections so that we can support them beyond housing.
Yes.
And Ms. Stewart, if I could just ask about, I see on your schedule and your calendar more than 100 workshops annually. And again, part of those things that people might necessarily not think about?
Sure. So a part of us developing our families is that we have to, as Ms. Bean mentioned earlier, to build those partnerships. And we have a number of partnerships with various organizations throughout Richland County that really provide valuable support to our residents. As mentioned earlier, health is something that's major in our communities, and organizations such as Prisma Health really steps up to the plate to provide in-community support for our residents to make sure that their health and wellness needs are at the forefront of everything. Additionally, we currently have a partnership with DHEC for our Growing Up Gen Z program, which is one of our newest projects that we're doing. And this is a leadership youth development program where we are actually trying to get our youth to make smart decisions in life. That's why we call it Growing Up Gen Z, which stands for Generation Z. And we touch on all those different core things that really affect kids of this particular generation. And so it is a teenage pregnancy prevention type program, but that's just not the only thing we focus on. Currently, we are doing financial literacy workshops with them. Next week, Millings Tech is coming to talk about different job training education programs. We have Prism Health to come in to do a series of workshop and activities. We have a life coach that works with our youth, so if they have any issues or things that they need to discuss, someone's there to talk and listen to them and direct them in the right direction and path they need to go in. So that has really been a great program that we started over the past 6 months, and of course, we're looking forward to continuing that program. Our FSS program and our Ross programs are HUD-funded grants where we provide workforce development and education for our adult household members who are seeking to go into the workforce. And we do that by building a number of partnerships because we're our housers. So, of course, we cannot do everything and address all the needs of our residents. So that's why we build a community of partnerships and relationships to provide those additional support services. Other things that we're really focused on with our families are financial literacy. We realize we want to move families to economic self-sufficiency, but money management is one of the key things that we have to discuss with our families and teach them about things they need to do to save money, pay bills, and just build wealth for themselves. And so in conclusion, I can go on and on to talk about the many programs, opportunities, but we take a holistic approach to it, and also we try to provide wraparound services for the whole family and not just one or two persons within each household.
And yes, Ms. Bean, and I also want to mention that these are things that are not a part of the budget. These are things that once discovering a need, identifying a need, then we look for ways to solve those problems, Ms. Bean.
I did just want to conclude, as Ms. Talisha indicated, there are so many partners that we can't mention all of them, but one that I am super proud of and excited about is a recent partnership, and we've had a partnership with this institution for a long time, but the newest partnership, we actually partnered with Midlands Technical College to offer free tuition programs to our residents. We often talk about, getting our families on this path to self-sufficiency and how we can do a better job of connecting them to much-needed community resources. And that partnership with Midlands Tech is the perfect example of our effort and our commitment to bringing the resources to our families. And so we're super excited about them being able to participate in their free tuition programs and also workforce development training programs, all things that are going to ultimately help them to become self-sufficient. So we're super excited about that and just wanted to make certain that I mentioned that partnership too.
Absolutely. We're going to switch gears a little bit. And I also want to let our studio audience know, if you all do have questions, just go ahead and raise your hand, relay those questions to me. I'll relay those questions, of course, to the general public, and then we'll get them answered for you. I do want to switch gears now. We got $100 million worth of stuff coming out of the ground right now, Cindy Herrera and Yvonne DeBean, and it's quite exciting. I have lived in the market for quite a while, and I was here for Hope 6, and I was here for it too, because it's a great-looking project, right? And but here we go again with new developments, and it's so exciting. 3 new developments. Ms. Bean, I know you want to start and then pitch it to Cindy.
Sure, I will definitely be pitching it to Cindy because Cindy is our development guru, is what I like to call her. She's been in the industry for a really long time and has worked with a lot of organizations like Columbia Housing across the country to help them really transform their public housing communities. So, but before I do that, I do want to just say, share in Cynthia's sentiment that, we are extremely excited to be able to move our redevelopment effort forward. When we launched Vision 2030, we knew and understood that the need was beyond what our organization could address. And so it meant having to really devise a strategy that would allow us to partner with private developers. We did a solicitation for private developers because our plan or our goal was to address all of the problems at one time. We can be a bit ambitious, is what I will say, but in a good way. Partnering with the private developers at once would allow us to simultaneously address all of the needs. The reality, however, is it takes time. We were looking at realizing fully Vision 2030 by 2030, exiting the public housing program totally by 2030. The reality, however, is that it will be beyond 2030 just slightly for reasons out of our control. Anytime you are embarking upon these types of endeavors where you're partnering with a private developer to attract private capital to address the longstanding deferred maintenance needs that exist at our properties, which, by the way, through a multitude of assessments, we determined was $250 million. But partnering with those individuals to attract that private capital to address those deferred maintenance needs would take a lot of resources, and it would also take time. And so right now, as Cindy indicated in the presentation, we have experienced some delays for reasons out of our control, reasons meaning funding. Funding that we anticipated we'd be able to secure by now, we've not been able to secure. But we are hopeful that SC Housing will in fact resume applications by the latter part of this year, and we'll be able to continue to move our Vision 2030 strategy forward. But right now, we do have Oaks at St. Anna's Park and
$100 million
Haven at Palmer Point on the street. If you haven't had an opportunity to drive by either of those properties, I encourage you to do so. It looks completely different, even over a week's time. It can look completely different. But it's exciting to see the buildings starting to come up. So I'm going to stop talking and turn it over to our our expert.
Can I give you a question for you, Cindy, before you start? Okay, so Ms. McRoberts has just given me a question from our Zoom platform. When can I apply for Oaks at St. Anna's Park?
I was gonna touch on that first because I get that question every time we talk about it.
Okay.
We are not taking any applications yet, but there will be a public notice and a lot of publication when the time becomes available to begin to take those applications. We are going to provide a preference for residents that lived at Gonzalez Gardens at the time that the demolition was approved. It is a preference. The property is funded through the Low-Income Housing Tax Credit Program, which has certain eligibility criteria. So everyone who applies will have to meet that eligibility criteria. And there's specific income limits and some other criteria under the Low-Income Housing Tax Credit Program. So as the construction progresses, please watch carefully our website as we will be sharing information with the community about all of how you can apply, what the eligibility criteria is, and what the process will be to file applications.
Sign up for those updates.
Yes, thank you.
Seriously.
Very important, yes, very important to make sure you're on our website and signed up so that you get the automatic emails and updates regarding any information we publish.
Now, Cindy, I did want to go ahead and throw out, as Ms. Bean was talking about the whole Vision 2030 plan, and it's a fabulous, fantastic plan, everyone, because what it does is it looks at everything that we own, everything, and it says, how can we make it better? And so because of that, the cost of everything is an ambitious $500 million. That's a lot of money. And so, but we got a plan. And so I'm just pitching it back to you now, Cindy.
And I think, we all get very excited for the new construction, but I don't want to minimize all the renovation we're going to be doing. This year, in 2023, we have 5 of our communities that are going to undergo substantial rehabilitation and renovation. We're going to be putting in new kitchens, new bathrooms, new floors, new HVAC. So we're basically going to be upgrading these 5 existing communities. And we're very excited about that, and I don't want to lose sight of the fact that renovation is also very critical. We can't tear down and rebuild everything. And the renovation projects are also very exciting. So our focus this year, based on some of the delays that South Carolina Housing has in place right now, our focus at the moment is on the renovation projects. Those are moving forward quickly. We are working with the Federal Housing Administration through mortgage programs that will give us the funding necessary to do the renovation. And as I mentioned in the presentation, the renovation will be anywhere from $25,000 per apartment up to $100,000 per apartment at some of the units. So, that buys you a lot of renovation. And so we are very, I want everyone to be very conscious of the fact that we have communities that we're renovating as well. And they will offer excellent housing with very modern finishes and amenities, and really providing significant upgrades to the residents that live in those communities.
It's a very exciting time. It really is, to see the development that's happening. People also want to know the number of units at Oaks at St. Anna's, but there's not a lot of chatter about Haven at Palmer Point.
Yes.
And I'd like to talk about Haven at Palmer Point as well.
Yes.
On the corner of Carter and Two Notch Road.
That's correct. Haven at Palmer Point is a 150-unit senior property for individuals 62 and older. Beautiful one-bedroom apartments with a few two-bedroom apartments. It has phenomenal amenities, including pickleball courts, which I'm very excited about. I don't know if y'all know, but pickleball is a very fast-growing sport for people over the age of 60 in particular. But we are going to have phenomenal amenities at that property. And that property came out of the loss of the Marion Street high-rise, which we had to take out of service a couple of years ago due to the deteriorating conditions at that property. So we're very excited that the Haven at Palmer Point is also moving along quickly. We think that it will probably be coming online very close to the same time that Oaks at St. Anna's will be coming online. And we're very excited to be offering some phenomenal new housing for seniors in our community. And we think the Haven is going to be a premier project. All of our projects will be premier, the Oaks at St. Anna's as well. So Haven is 150 units. Oaks at St. Anna has 2 components. It has the senior component, which is a 95-unit, 3-story building. And then we also have 190 townhomes for families. They're all 2- and 3-bedroom units for families at that community. The townhomes are a combination of both market rate housing as well as subsidized housing. So it will have a combination, a mixed income approach to that housing as well. So again, we're very excited. The family units at the Oaks at St. Anna's is the entire development, and we refer to the senior building as Oak Terrace, and we refer to the family as Oak Park. St. Anna's is actually a park right across Washington Street, and the main entrance to the new community will be off of Washington Street. And so we are going to basically work as well with that park and offer that as amenities to the families that live there. So we're very, very excited about that property getting offline. All of our new communities will have internet service available to the residents at no cost, so there will be public Wi-Fi available to our communities. They will all have extensive security and safety for our families to make sure that everybody feels safe and secure. And all of them have wonderful amenities. We have LVT tile, we have hard surfaces, we have very updated, modern appliances. All units will have an in-unit washer and dryer. So we're very excited that we can offer to our families all of the amenities and all of the things that today's modern living, really demands of us. And so we're very excited about that. The family units at Oak Park will be coming on in stages. So the first buildings are expected to actually become available early this fall. And then there'll be a few buildings coming on every couple months until the entire project is completed. And again, please watch for all the announcements about how to apply and what the process will be as we move forward.
The other, yes, ma'am, go right ahead, Ms. Bean.
No, I do just want to add that we're also super excited to have been awarded through Congressman Clyburn's office $3 million in community project funding, which filled the gap that we had, the financing gap that we had at Haven at Palmer Point. So we're super appreciative to Congressman Clyburn and his administration for awarding us that grant. And of course, as Cindy just mentioned, it's going to assist in our development efforts and housing, of course, more families.
Interestingly, as Ms. Bean is talking to Alicia and also Cindy about the congressman providing $3 million in gap funding, it reminds me of the creativeness of the packages that have to be put together for the fundings of these projects. A lot of times people think things just happen. I've seen where you send an email. They do.
If only it were that simple.
Yes, exactly.
I saw an email that you recently sent to Alicia about a $700,000 grant for some program that it is that we have. I want people to know that efforts go into making those things happen, and so, because nobody just gives that money away. At the same time, I do want us to move and to talk about the renovations that you mentioned. I want people to know that even though, as we look over at Celia Saxon, those homes look beautiful, but you say if you look close, they need work.
Yes.
And so you're going to do that. At the same time, we need to talk about Allen Benedict Court and talk about the design of Allen Benedict Court, because a number of people are asking questions about who's going to get to live there. And so, so go ahead, Cindy, if you can jump in there, and then Ms. Bean, I've got some questions for you.
Okay, let me start first with Celia Saxon and Rosewood, as we mentioned, are our newer communities. They're just under 20 years old. But even at 20 years, they start to get a little worn. A little normal wear and tear occurs. And so part of our renovations at those properties will basically be dealing with all that wear and tear. We'll be painting, we'll be putting in new flooring, taking out old carpet, going to LVT tile, being able to put in some new air conditioning units. After 20 years, things just wear out. And so we will be doing upgrades that will basically make sure that those properties are ready for the next 20 years. And so that's what the renovations will be. A couple of our other communities, Lewis Scott Court out in Eastover, as well as Hammond Village, we will be doing more significant renovations. Those properties are from the 1960s and 70s, so they need a little bit more renovation. So we'll be doing some more significant more renovation at those properties. As far as Allen Benedict Court, we are very excited that we have undergone an extensive planning process. We had 2 design charrettes, and we'll be coming back to the community in the near future. Basically, at this point in time, the designs for Allen Benedict Court include a senior building of about 140 units, 100 units of family townhouses, and the other exciting part for Allen Benedict Court is we're going to be doing some workforce housing on that site. And the reason for that is that one of the things that we found is we serve low-income families, and we provide subsidy and rental assistance for those families. But there's also many families that basically aren't eligible for the subsidy programs that we provide, but yet don't make enough money to afford some of today's extremely high market rents in the community. And so the workforce housing is really going to be directed for those families that range between about 80% to about 150% of the area median income. So it's people that's working, but they may not necessarily, like I say, they don't make enough to afford some of the astronomical rents that we have in today's marketplace, but at the same time, they're not eligible for subsidy programs. So this kind of fills that, what we refer to as the forgotten middle. And so we're really kind of focusing, on offering an opportunity for that forgotten middle folks that we can serve in the community. That grew out of our working in partnership with both Benedict College and Allen University, in which they said we really have a tremendous need for our employees to be able to have good quality housing. And wouldn't it be nice if it could be close to where they work? And so we're very excited to be able to be working on the workforce housing component of that, as well as being able to replace the units that were lost at the previous Allen Benedict Court.
I'm really happy to hear about that working out, you guys, Ms. Bean, because I know you have had a number of conversations with individuals wanting to make sure that that was going to happen. And it hasn't always been a part of the plan. And but again, we can make it happen.
Yes, and I'll just add that, we understood very early on, of course, what Allen Benedict Court meant to this community. And so we have been very intentional and thoughtful about how we move forward with our redevelopment of that particular site for that very reason. We want to be transparent. We want to afford the community an opportunity to really feel like they're a part of the process. And that is why we initially had the design charrettes that Cindy mentioned earlier. It was to present to not just our residents and participants, but the general public, our community partners, the local elected officials, just the community in general, what the preliminary designs would look like or could look like. Give them an opportunity to weigh in on those things. And then we are going to have some follow-up, and that follow-up will be to share where we are on some of the suggestions and recommendations that we received from many of you all in the community, because we did receive quite a few suggestions. Not all of them are financially feasible.
Can you put swimming
But-
pools in each one?
But again, for us, it was important to make certain that we afford you all the opportunity to weigh in. And one of the things that I'm really most proud of in that whole process too, is the way in which we engaged the former Allen Benedict Court residents. We extended special invitations to them, made sure that they understood they would have an opportunity to return if they chose to do so. But some of the feedback that we received, they were so excited to see things moving forward. Excited to see what it could potentially become, and even more excited about potentially getting that application in.
Yeah, they were very excited, coming to the charrettes that we had. Talisha, I want to ask you, you are directly in touch with residents on a daily basis. Is there a lot of excitement out there about the potential for what that can be and some of the other development that we have among our resident population?
Yes, it is. And one of the things that we get a lot of inquiries about lately is our lease purchase opportunities that are coming up. Because we're going to have about 200 single-family homes that we will make available for our residents to purchase.
Oh my, that is exciting.
That's big.
It very much so
That
is.
is very exciting. How many homes will be up for purchase by residents? About 200?
202
Wow, what an
to be
opportunity.
exact.
202.
202 to be exact.
That's an exciting opportunity.
Yes. So we have an amazing home ownership education program. We've been doing this over 20-plus years. Currently, we applied to be a HUD certified housing counseling agency, which will allow us to expand our wings in the housing counseling industry, where we can do more services, more education, more programming, and helping more people one-on with not just obtaining home ownership, but also staying in their homes as well. So we're waiting on approval of our application from HUD that we are an actual HUD certified housing counseling agency, and from there we will resume our first-time home buying education classes, which is one of the highest demand programs we've had in years. So that is, the home ownership option is something that many
That's awesome.
residents ask about on a consistent basis, and so we're excited about those opportunities that are coming forward and looking forward to getting more of our families to become first-time home buyers.
And I want our audience to also know that we're not new to this.
No.
We have been helping get people into homes. Our FSS program does that, and there are a number of happy homeowners that are out there now that are homeowners because they have come through our home ownership programs.
Absolutely, and the lease purchase program, just to add to the sentiment that's already been shared by both ladies, is that I love the idea of really meeting people where they are. I think that is so important. We do unfortunately have people that have barriers to becoming what is deemed mortgage ready. And so the lease purchase program is going to allow us to really grab that individual, that family by the hand to say, hey, where are you? How can we help you? Allow us to walk you through the process. And that's under Ms. Talisha's umbrella, and that's what she's talking about when she speaks of the homeownership department and the homeownership program. They work very closely with those individuals. So through the lease purchase program, we're going to be able to continue to do that, but now have housing of our own that we'll be able to sell them once they reach the end of that journey of removing whatever those barriers might be. So again, we're excited about that and looking forward to being able to help our residents really realize what is deemed as the American dream, and that's becoming a homeowner for the first time.
We are coming up on the winding down portion of our program, so if there are any additional questions from the audience, you guys let us know. I do want to ask our panel to also, one more time, explain why this annual plan is important and why we put it out before the public and why it's important to us that people get a glimpse on the inside of the agency. I'll start with you, Talisha, then I'll go to you, Cindy, and then we'll end with you, Ms.
Sure.
Bean.
Okay, great, thank you. Well, this whole process, one, is required by HUD for housing authorities on an annual basis. But not just that, we are a public servant organization. So our focus is to make sure that we're providing resources and services and housing for our residents who live in our communities. So this process is very important because we need to hear from our residents. Your voices are the primary voices that we want to hear. Also, the community at large, our partners, our local government entities, everyone who we work with on a consistent basis is a part of Columbia Housing and who we are. And you all make it possible for us to provide the services and resources we provide for our families. So in a nutshell, those are some of the many reasons why we actually go through this process.
Ms. Herrera?
Yeah, I think it's also important as we launched our Vision 2030 plan back 3 or 4 years ago now, it's a moving, living process. And so it's very important, this process of our annual plan gives us the opportunity to keep our residents informed, keep the community informed of how we're moving forward with each and every property and what the process is. What you heard part of this year is that there's been a few setbacks because of things outside of our control, but that we've turned to move forward with other projects that we can keep moving. So it gives us an opportunity to keep all of our residents informed, as well as the larger community informed of how our Vision 2030 plan continues to move forward.
And I'll just add to what both ladies said. Well, a couple of things that I want to point out that I think are extremely important for everyone to know and understand too. Is that one, we did do something a little different this year than we've done in previous years as it relates to our residents and ensuring that our residents were afforded an opportunity to weigh in on a lot of the things that we carry out throughout the year that impact them and their households. We actually held several resident advisory board meetings, which was taking this information to the actual communities. In the past, we've held only one meeting, typically representing individuals from the various communities, but we thought we wanted to, again, as I mentioned earlier, meet the people where they are. And so for us, we decided to take this information and this presentation to them to allow them, again, an opportunity to truly weigh in and provide some feedback and input on many of the strategies that we'll implement in the coming year. The other item that I wanted to mention, and not as much an item, but something that I think is important for people to know, is that we are governed by a board of commissioners, 5 volunteers, 5 commissioners seven, I'm sorry. I didn't mean 5, 7. So I'm actually the CEO of Columbia Housing, which has 7 volunteer board of commissioners, and also Casey Housing, which has 5 volunteer commissioners. But we have 7 commissioners, Chairman Ernest Cromartie III, Vice Chairwoman Commissioner Kara Simmons, Commissioner Selena Pickens, Commissioner James Chatfield, Resident Commissioner George Green, Commissioner Kevin Warner, and also Commissioner Georgia Miarton. They have been extremely supportive. We couldn't move any of what we've talked about throughout this presentation forward were it not for their support. They again volunteer their time and their expertise and their skills to ensuring that we're able to really meet the needs of the families that we serve. So I wanted to make certain that I did take a moment to acknowledge them and also share with you all that, you know, if it weren't for them, we wouldn't be where we are today. So we're extremely appreciative of them in this process as well.
Well, we spent about an hour and 15 minutes going over our annual plan, and at this time, I will give you all an opportunity for closing comments, and they will go in the order that they just went. Talisha.
Okay, all right. First of all, I'd like to thank everyone for taking time to listen to our presentations for our annual plan. Also, I'd like to thank the individuals who are here live with us, just kind of take time out of your day. Just know that Columbia Housing is here to serve our residents. We're here to serve our community. And the many programs and opportunities afforded through my department, we are looking to continue to grow those things over the next fiscal year. And also, we're always open to gaining ideas of other programs and services our families need us to provide for them, or partnerships you guys see that we need to bring to our housing communities. So please stay in contact with us. You have resident service coordinators who work with the families in the communities. Please keep us busy, but also help us to help you. And that is by lending your voice and letting us know the things so we can do better to help you in the communities.
Ms. Herrera?
Yes, thank you all, and our appreciation for everyone coming out and looking at our annual plan and getting updated on all of the plans that we have. It's the residents and the community that drive us to what we're doing. I'm very excited in being able to provide a higher quality housing for everyone that we serve, and we're going to make it by 2030.
You heard it here.
I'm going to record it.
So in closing, again, we appreciate you all joining us today in person, also Facebook Live and via Zoom as we provide you all with the progress we've made, but also what we're planning as we go forward. It's our commitment to be transparent. We're going to do this very same thing again next year to make certain that you all are involved in a part of the process, and we are being accountable to you all. Our residents are why we are here. We don't take that for granted at all, and so we work diligently. I am so excited to share that I have the most fantastic, dynamic, talented team of professionals that choose to show up each and every day with passion and compassion for the individuals we serve. And I thank them for even affording me the opportunity to be at the helm of the organization. They lead me. They say I'm the leader, but they lead me. And I'm just appreciative, again, for the opportunity. But thank you all so much for joining us. And if you have any questions, going forward, please don't hesitate to reach out to us, okay?
And we'd like to thank Free Thinkers that helped us to put this together today, the technical team of Free Thinkers. Thank you, David Pendergrass, for all that you've done to help us with this today. I also want to mention to our audience, guys, that this presentation will live on our YouTube channel as well as on our website. And they can take a look at that once we get it all together and post it there. It won't take but a couple of days or so. We're delighted that you all have joined us. I've been your host, Cynthia Hardy, and we're so delighted that we've had this opportunity to present the annual plan to the general community. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. Have a great afternoon.
Thank you.